Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, and Happy New Year. We've got quite a bit on the agenda, and it is an important meeting because we have to start the process for our dues for this year so we can have the funding to do everything that we want to do. So just to give you a little update on the agenda, which has been updated. We got some breaking news at 5 o'clock tonight. The DEC released its draft new stormwater permit, the MS4 permit, which I just had very little time to go over it, but what little I learned, I'll go over when we get to that in the agenda. We've got, I've added on the proposed Joint Protection Committee meeting. I've been discussing with some of the other organizations, and we've got some suggested topics and a suggested date, so we can, talk about that. What else was new? Also, I added that the DEC's got its new draft 303 list of impaired waters, and there's one little change for the better that affects our harbor. We'll get into that. And then also we've got some preliminary findings on our shellfish population survey. So I'll be able to, fill you in a little bit on that. So the first item of dues, first item is always the approval of the draft minutes from November. Does anybody have any comments or corrections that we need to make?
Kevin from the town of North Hempstead makes a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Dan Fucci, second.
Thank you, Dan. All in favor? All, any?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We do have a guest here. Maybe I should, we got Sarah Schaefer Brown. You're still on, right, Sarah?
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi.
You want to introduce yourself so we know who you are?
Sure. Yes. So thank you for allowing me to join this meeting again. My name is Sarah Schaefer Brown. I'm the Sustainable and Resilient Communities Extension Professional for Nassau County. I just started my position in November, and I joined the November Hempstead Harbor Protection Committee meeting. Just introduce myself briefly, and just wanted to let you all know I'm in this role, and I will be reaching out to you if I haven't reached out to you already to try to see how we can work together. My goal, I was hired by New York Sea Grant and am working to advance the Long Island Sound Studies goal of sustainable and resilient communities. So it's really a broad scope. So I want to work with local municipalities and other protection committees, local community groups to help you advance sustainability and resiliency projects. So that can include, water quality projects, habitat restoration, shoreline restoration, stormwater projects. It's really a pretty broad scope. So I was thankful I could join the last meeting and hear a little bit about what you guys have been working on and what your interests are. So thank you for having me again.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to working with you. Okay, the first item on administrative matters is our proposed 2023 member dues. I'm going to share a couple documents with you. Hold on a second here. Let me. Where is that? Hold on a second. Okay. All right. Well, I do have to find this other document, but I did send each of the members. Hold on a second, dear. We have. Well, first, let me go through the procedure here. Under our intermunicipal agreement, we have to introduce the proposed dues at our January meeting, and then give all our members 60 days to review them and decide whether they wanted to continue being a member of the committee. And if they wish to withdraw, then they need to do that by those 60 days. Otherwise, you're committed for another year. And at the March meeting, we then do approve the dues, and then invoices get sent out. As we have in the past, because certain of our municipalities are not on a fiscal year, we will wait to the start of your fiscal year, which is usually in June, to accept the dues. So anticipating that and anticipating that we keep the dues at the same level, I did make some projections as to what our expenses and our income will be through June of 2023, which is when the next set of dues begins to roll in. So in other words, the dues that we are going to assess this year have to last us till at least June. So looking at that, right now we have in our account 103,000. Our anticipated income over the next year till June is about 250,000, 251, which brings the total to 354. And then figuring in our anticipated expenses of about 190,000, which would bring the new total to 163. That's a little bit simplistic because it doesn't take into concern some of the other things. We do have a grant that we've been awarded for 100,000 from NIFWIF for our 2022-2023 monitoring program, but we don't expect to receive those funds until 2023. And we also do have outstanding Marcelino grant payments that we need to make of 118,000. So we need to have the cash on hand to lay that out, but it will be reimbursed. So we are very healthy financially, but there are a number of reasons why we should, maintain that. It hasn't been many years since we were almost out of money after we had to contribute a couple 100,000 for the Scudder's Pond restoration. And it would be very good to have funds on hand, because we will most likely be in a position in the next year or so to seek grants under either the federal stimulus program or New York State. New York State's putting a $4 billion environmental bond act on the agenda this fall, and there's likely to be a number of opportunities. And the more that we have available at our disposal, the bigger grant we can get, because a lot of them do require matches. So basically, when we look at, let me try to find that other document. Hold on a second here. Okay. All right. So what I did is I went back and I looked at the last 10 years, which it gives us probably a little better picture. So looking at the income over the last 10 years, we've had basically an average of 145,000. And our expenses over the last 10 years has been about 124,000. Interestingly, the expenses that we had in 2021 almost are identical to our average income for the last 10 years. So that gives us, that means our dues are pretty much in line with, with what our expenses have been. It's nice to have a little bit of a surplus in case things happen, and to be able to do things like this year. We didn't expect to have to pay for the shellfish population survey, which is 45,000. Fortunately, we had the funds to be able to do that, and I think you're going to see that there's some interesting results from that. So Let me bring out the proposed dues. Second. Oops. Okay, just to remind everybody, the dues that I suggest are really the same that we have had since 2015, which would be City of Glen Cove, 8150, the two towns, 10,900, the villages, 5,445, and the county, 35,575, for a total of 90,750. And that's basically what I suggest that we continue to do. So with that,
Eric,
yes,
I'm sorry, it's Dan Fucci. I think you said 35 for the county. It's 33.
33, right?
Okay,
Yeah, sorry if I misspoke.
no problem.
Okay, so with that, I'll open up to discussions. If anybody has any comments or or a motion to approve them.
This is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead. I make the motion to maintain the dues as currently proposed.
This is Dan Fucci from Nassau County. I will second that motion.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I wanted to throw out there the idea of maybe Voice Survey contributing shellfish in the place of dues at some point in the future to the harbor. Just sort of throw that around.
Well, the intermunicipal agreement, I know I stopped by the office yesterday, and that was suggested when I was there. That's not something that's in the intermunicipal agreement. I'm not sure if we would have to amend the IMA in order to accept, goods in place of services. The last time we revised the intermunicipal agreement, it took a year and a half to do, and it's not an easy process. Not to say that would be the same this time, but you never know. I mean, there's a new administration in the county, and it was the county that took the longest to sign last time. I mean, it may be possible. I mean, if the committee wished to purchase seed clams from the town, if it wants to do a seeding program, but
Yeah, Kevin, Eric, this is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead. Clams don't pay executive director's salary or other things, so it's going to be difficult to monetize clams or shellfish into the harbor when the dues are there to pay expenses. It may be a portion of it, but by no means is it going to supplant the dues that either town, including my town, pays.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, Eric, it's
I know
Adam.
you I'm sorry, Steve. I know you probably got the suggestion from your supervisor looking to curb spending, but I do hope you understand that there's expenses there that we just can't. We're not going to be able to supplement with other things.
And I agree with Kevin, because that's going to open up a can of worms, because everyone else is going to be looking down that path.
Hey,
Okay.
Eric, it's Adam Levine. I have a question. What prompted the due raise 7 years ago?
I believe that was at the point where, first of all, we had pretty much expended everything we had to get the Scudder's Pond project, to reality. And it was also around that time that we were denied the biggest source of funds that we get from grants was the water monitoring program. So with that, we really needed to cover expenses, and obviously as time is going on, the water monitoring program has become, as Carol will tell you, become more complex and more things needed to be, checked and all of that. So there was a need finally to bring those, costs and income up to, what our, expenses really were at the point.
Okay, so with the rising costs and inflation and everything, your recommendation is to keep dues the same again this year, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments? We do have a motion and we have a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. The shellfish density survey, as you know, we hired Cash and Associates to prepare a shellfish density survey. Briefly, I will go over this is a map showing all the survey points. These are preliminary results, and the preliminary results have changed in the last day because as they're looking more at it, they're finding some more information. So this is just preliminary results for you to look at. Basically, you can see in this map, there are green, yellow, and blue portions. The green is where clam density are the most, where we have the most clams. The blue is where an intermediate area, and the yellow is where that they did not find any. Going into the screen here. I'm sorry, I'm trying, this bar comes across the top and I'm not able to switch. Here we go. Okay. Into another. Okay. So basically, this is very interesting. So we'll go over it a little bit more detail. They had 183 samples from all their stations. The density of clams was high. It was 4.5 clams per square meter compared to 1.7 clams in 2013. So the mean density of the clams and the mean density of station 54, which is just below the bar in the lower harbor, was exceptionally high. In fact, it was 54 and 55, or south of Bar Beach, were the highest density that Cashin has seen in all the studies that they've done anywhere. They also found that there's the clams are more spread out in the harbor than they have in the past, but they're finding much less seed clams and much more older, larger clams. So while we have more clams and in a wider area, the population is really not that sustainable as it was, because there's not that many younger clams to be found. Interestingly, in the lower harbor, there were some where they even found some in some of the real muddy areas where you don't usually see clams. So in a way, that's good because we've got a lot of natural filtration going on. In all the samples that they took, they did not find any oysters, but when they sent the divers down, they did find some oysters, not many, but some oysters off of Sands Point. And but they were large oysters, so it's not that's not a sustainable population there either. So included with this was a sediment survey, which will give us good information about where we can plant our seed if we want to do a seeding program, and if we get the the federal grant that Tom Swazi had put in for us, which may or may not happen. I think that's included in the Build Back Better bill that's stalled in the Senate right now. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Also, they did find a number of predators, shellfish predators in the harbor, but there was no exceptionally large populations, which is another good thing. So based on that, we're in fairly good shape, but we need to have more of a young population, more seeding to be done. So that's something that we can look at. And as Steve will probably tell us in a little while, Town of Oyster Bay has got some funds to greatly expand its hatchery in the next year. So, and I have spoken with the commissioner and deputy commissioner about the possibility of putting some more seed in Hempstead Harbor next year. So those discussions are taking place. So that's basically it on that.
Eric,
Yep.
can you email us the map?
Yes. I will put it, well, it'll be on the, I'll attach it to the draft minutes. So you'll have that when you get the
Thank
the
you.
minutes. Okay, but keep in mind, it's preliminary.
Right.
Okay. The Marcelino grant update. As you may know, we were able to get an extension to the end of this year. So I did put in a reimbursement request yesterday for about $6,000 and change. So we should be getting that. They still do owe us another $4,000 that was submitted in September, but apparently they sent it to the wrong, they pay electronically and they sent it to the wrong routing number and it got bounced back. So it's in the process of being sent back to us again. So that should be good. On the proposed 22 meeting schedule, I did make one change, if it's okay with everybody, and that's in the October meeting, which we had scheduled for October 5th. I moved that back to October 12th because I had a conflict, although I may not be here in October, but in case I am, if anybody has a problem, we can always put it back to the 5th. So when I originally proposed the meeting schedule last month, I did have a date in there for May. We usually don't have our own committee meeting in May. That's usually when we have the Joint Protection Committee meeting. So I also took that out. So if everybody's good with this, these are the dates that we will meet. And if there's a problem, we can always adjust, but at least you can put it on your calendars. All right, as I mentioned.
Sorry, so May 11th is no more? I'm sorry, May 11th is off?
Yeah, May 11th is no more, but there is a proposed May 12th date for the Joint Protection Committee meeting. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So, usually once a year, we get the different Protection Committee meetings, different protection committees together and have a presentation. The last couple have been virtual. There's interest in the other committees to continue doing that. So, and it's the date is flexible, but that seemed to be okay with the other groups so far. All right. As I mentioned, breaking news.
I just ask you.
Yeah.
Sorry, March. Did you change the date in March? I had written the 16th originally.
Oh, you know what? Yes, we had, because we changed January, we had to change March. That's correct. So
Okay.
I'm going to change that to the 16th. Okay, thank you.
To this, so it is the 16th and not the 10th?
It has to be 60 days from today, so that the 10th would not work.
Okay.
So let me just make sure March 16th is a Wednesday. Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, so that'll be March 16th. And that'll be the date that we vote to adopt the dues.
Okay.
Okay. As you know, the MS4 permit, stormwater permit, is a permit that we all have to live with. It's been about 10 years since the permits were last renewed. In 2016, you may recall, the DEC started the process to renew the old permit. I was designated to represent Long Island at meetings up in Albany. We had a series of meetings, and they ended up proposing some pretty significant changes to the permit, partly in response to a lawsuit that was brought by an environmental group claiming that DEC was really negligent in the way it handled MS4 permits, and they demanded more specificity in the permits and the ability to review every individual one, and with public comments and all of that. The result was they came out with something that was a lot more intense, and they ended up getting something like 20,000 comments. I don't quote me on that number, but there were so many comments that came back on that last revision in 2018, I think it was 2017, that they decided to go back to the drawing board. And it's taken this many years to come out with the new proposal. Now, this new proposal, the fact sheet alone is 47 pages. The permit itself is about 160 something pages. I only got a chance to quickly look it over this evening. It's proposed to be a 5-year permit, and if they goes by the schedule they're proposing, it would start in April of this year. I'm going to be working on a summary of what it is for everybody, but basically I think they've made some improvements from the version that was proposed in 2017, but there still will be some more requirements on there. The reporting will be all electronic unless you can get a waiver from that requirement. Each MS4 permit holder has to designate a stormwater coordinator, and that coordinator would have to be trained. This was discussed in the last version, and it's still in there now. I'm going to be working to see if we can get the Soil and Water Conservation District to provide that training like they do with the erosion and sediment control, so we can do it locally and at more convenient and at probably lower cost. But there's quite a bit in there, and I'll be submitting that they want comments due by February 18th, which is just a little over a month from now. I and others, I think, will be requesting an extension of that time. I think go over 165 pages and put cogent comments together and collect them from everybody and get them to them in a little over a month is I think is a little unrealistic. So I will be sending around everything, the documents to all of you if you want to take a look at them. The DEC will be having a public education session on, I think it's the 26th January 26th at 1 o'clock. It's virtual, to give an overview of this. And I will participate, and I encourage all of you to also give you a better idea, hearing it firsthand from all of them. So stay tuned on that.
So Eric, this is Dan Fucci. So it's still in draft form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, the review sessions, process has taken quite a while, and I imagine it would be this. I mean, it's been 10 years since the last version, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to have comments on it, and it's just going to take a while to brush up on it, to understand everything that's being proposed.
Okay.
So that's that.
Yeah, your feedback would be is always beneficial. So thank you.
Yeah, and I've got some feedback that we put together last time, which it's basically they took what was they had proposed in 2017, went through all the comments and changed it here and there, but by and large, I think it's pretty much the same thing. So some of our comments may have been accepted. Maybe others haven't. I have to look at that. I don't know, but at least we have something to go on because we've already reviewed the last round. So, but it's going to take a while to get through it all. All right. At the same time, the DEC has revised its what they call the 303D list. That's the list of impaired water bodies, and they have water bodies can be impaired for all sorts of things, certain chemicals, for bacteria, for phosphorus, for sediment. And once you're on that 303D list, then that means you're in the pipeline for development of a TMDL, total maximum daily load. In the case of Hempstead Harbor, nothing has really changed except in Glen Cove Creek, they're proposing to remove the creek from being impaired by silt and sediment. They said there were some errors in the way it was originally computed, so never really needed to be listed as impaired for silt and sediment. So that takes a little bit of burden off of at least the city of Glen Cove. So I don't, other than that, because nothing else has really changed, both the upper and the lower harbor are listed as impaired for pathogens, which we understand. So, and there already is a TMDL being developed for pathogens. We're one of the pilot harbors for the new TMDL, which will probably be imposed for all of the water bodies. So I don't see a need to provide any further comments. I think it's probably, it is what it is, and that's it. So that brings us to, I'm going to turn this over to Kevin on explain about the executive director search for my replacement. So I know Kevin's been involved with this. So Kevin, you want to explain what's the latest?
Sure. First, we should state that I'm not sure I can find a suitable replacement, but in lieu of that, we have updated the job description. Eric and I, we have formed a committee of people who are going to be involved in the search. We plan to let the job description out early next week. Eric and I have come to formulate a list of probable sources where we want to provide this job description to. Basically, water quality groups, people that we know the position, know the issues. So we're going to start there in terms of seeking an applicant. And if that doesn't produce fruit, then we'll go in another direction. But we're starting everything early next week to have it out. And then we'll go from there, narrow it down to likely candidates and go through interviews. But at this point, we're just getting the job description out, and hopefully we'll field good applicants.
I think we have what about 13 different organizations that we listed, something like that.
Yeah, we
So-
do have 13 organizations to give and take, and then I expect that from these organizations it will spread further. So it's almost like just a tree branch. We're starting with a couple branches, and then hopefully it'll flourish out into some leaves, and we'll get some good candidates.
Okay. Thank you, Kev. All right, that brings us to the proposed Joint Protection Committee meeting. We have the following topics are suggested. Obviously, we probably don't have time to cover them all, but so I'd be interested in see if you have anything else you'd like to see us address or what you feel are priorities, but You can see them listed here. The Beacon Wind construction in Long Island Sound, sugar kelp harvesting update, progress of Nassau and Suffolk subwatershed septic plans, update on the New York State budget for clean water initiatives, discussion of the proposed $4 billion New York State environmental bond, reports from harbor groups on current issues of interest, the Nassau 9-element plan, the pathogen TMDL update, the new MS4 permit update, and that was added before we knew that it was being released. So I imagine that might be put up on the higher on the list. Update on septic grant programs and the Oyster Bay's shellfish hatchery expansion.
Eric, this is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead again. Didn't we beat the sugar kelp harvesting last time?
Yeah.
The last in-person thing we had.
We did. So I mean, I would. This wasn't proposed by me, but I would say that maybe that's something we hold off on. Although Oyster Bay has greatly expanded their kelp program this year, but you know, we
In
pretty
Hempstead
much.
Harbor?
Some in Hempstead Harbor, yeah, in the marina.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm sure
I
Steve
didn't
will get
know
to that
about
when we do municipal updates.
Okay.
So if anybody has, I mean, the idea was to try to get this off the ground now. May seems like a long way off, but you know how time goes, especially when we're involved with all these other things. So, you know, if we can narrow it down in the next few weeks, you know, to the key topics, and then we can arrange for some speakers. And, you know, I'm sure it's probably going to be virtual, the way this COVID thing is going, you know, by May. I don't think it's going to be over by May. So, but we'll see. So anybody has any other ideas or comments, please get them to me. All right, that brings us to water quality. Carol, you want to give us a little update?
Oh, probably, if it's okay with you, Eric, a couple of these things run into, are related. So the program update, bacteria, powerhouse drain, I'll kind of.
You can lump them together.
Okay.
Yep.
So just the quick story for the 2021 program is that the regular season part of the program ended on October 28th. The winter season, focusing on the powerhouse drain, subwatershed and outfall, began on November 10th, and that'll continue with biweekly testing through the end of April. And of course, we are now in the heat of doing the 2021 annual report. So that's all regular program, but what's happened over the course of this, before we finished the regular season program, we started to realize that there were problems in Glen Cove Creek. I'm trying to remember whether all of this took place, I don't think there's been a report since the last meeting. Is that correct, Eric? I think this happened.
My report.
In terms of this all happened after the last meeting, or at least the resolution of what was going on.
Yeah, that was since then. The last at the last meeting, it was still, you guys were going to go out and do some more testing.
Yeah.
And
so we did that, and it was really, we started, I think at that point I had mentioned that we started noticing increasing problems in Glen Cove Creek over multiple stations, and it just continued to get worse. And it was really by the end of October, just as we were concluding the program, that the numbers had exceeded so much in all of the stations, but also at the sewage treatment plant, which generally the area around the sewage treatment plant has the lowest numbers. But there was a lot going on this past season with the rebuilding of the bulkhead by the sewage treatment plant. There had been a lot of work from the beginning of the season with construction around the creek. But in any event, on October 28th, which was our last regular season monitoring date, the numbers were so high by the sewage treatment plant as well that it prompted us to call Suez. And this was reported to both Dan and to Rocco, and that began a whole investigation of what was going on. We went closer, certainly with Rocco was informed all along and was helping with the actual sample collection as we moved toward the head of the creek and in areas that are hard to get to normally. And also starting the testing at Mill Pond, which really clinched it that something was terribly wrong. Over the season, we had some indication that there was something strange going on with the color of the pond during different points in the summer. But we realized when we tested right at the pond and got the results that, there was a huge problem. And we closed in on it by continuing to test upstream. Pretty much had closed in, things were happening simultaneously. We had tested at the pond, we had tested at Cedar Swamp Creek, beyond the pond, and we were closing in on the area right in the middle of Glen Cove on Bridge Street. And then at the same time, a resident of Glen Cove who was familiar with the culverts in that area had taken a video that showed a broken pipe, but we still had to test to confirm, and Suez had to get in there to confirm that what we were seeing on video was a broken sewer pipe. Within 4 days, the pipe was repaired. We continued testing. We did testing in the creek, again, beyond the regular season. We had help from Glen Cove Harbor Patrol, which was great to be able to get back into the water again. And then also tested at the pond to see how quickly numbers decreased and things seemed to go to stabilize and go back toward normal numbers. And it happened pretty quickly. Even when there was a temporary bypass, we started to see the numbers go down. They were still high at the pond. By the time the full repair was done, we tested again, and we saw that the numbers had gone down. Unfortunately, exactly at the same time as we were resolving what was going on in Glen Cove Creek, we started to see those same unbelievably high numbers coming out of the powerhouse drain, which, as you know, for years we've been saying the pattern's always the same. When you get a sample directly from the outfall, the numbers are very high. When the outfall is dilute, when the water coming out of the outfall is diluted because the tide is up, you obviously get lower numbers. But these numbers that we were getting in December, as we were concluding the problems with Glen Cove Creek, were similar to raw sewage, that the same numbers that were coming out of Glen Cove Creek, which started us going in this direction again, definitely with so much help from Dan Fucci, because Glenwood Road, we were doing the same type of testing, trying to find areas upstream of the powerhouse drain. And with Dan, we worked out a schedule and points to test week by week to go further upstream and to see what was going on. At this point, we tested 8 stations on Glenwood Road, essentially manholes and the stream that runs between Kassam and Glenwood Road. Out of the 8 stations, 6 had exceedances. So we have to continue. Dan has looked at 2 other areas that would be good to check out also and see if they're also coming out with high numbers. And then that'll just direct us on what are the next steps. I've also contacted the Commissioner of Environmental Resources in the town of Oyster Bay, because the feeder roads to Glenwood Road are within the jurisdiction of the town of Oyster Bay. And in fact, the next two possible testing sites are places that are actually fed by town storm drains. So we'll see how all of that works out. And I would certainly ask, and I'll just add the third thing that we found while we were doing Glenwood Landing. We had a report from a coalition member who had spotted a problem in Roslyn Harbor. And Adam knows about this. We contacted Adam to let him know that at a resident's property, there was ponding and water was just flowing out onto Bryant Avenue. So we were investigating that as well. So we had a lot of things happening at the end of the season and beyond, and we are still working to resolve Glenwood Landing, certainly. And I think Adam and Dan might know better, Dan particularly, about the pipe that is being talked about for Roslyn Harbor. Wona, do you know Dan?
Yeah, hi, this is Dan Fucci, Nassau County. It's 470 Bryant Avenue in Roslyn Harbor, I believe, that we were looking at, Carol.
Mhm.
First off, that, we did do the testing there for bacteria. It is not septic related. Apparently it's an issue with a drain that runs through that property that connects into Bryant Avenue, then ultimately discharges into the harbor. And there the reason for the standing water on the property might be that the pipe is blocked. So I believe the county was up there today. I did not get an update yet. Hopefully tomorrow or the next few days, to try to jet the pipe and to see if there was a blockage, if that would alleviate the issue of the standing water. It's not a septic issue, not a bacteria issue. It's essentially a storm. It's an open channel that goes into a 20, I believe it's, don't quote me, I believe it's a 24 inch pipe that discharges to the stream on the west side of Bryant that goes into Hempstead Harbor. So it just might be a blockage, and hopefully the county was able to jet it today.
What I don't understand though, Dan, is where, like, we didn't see that culvert. Where is it? Was it under the water?
That's correct. Yeah, where you saw that body of water on that gentleman, on that person's property, there's an open drain there that goes into a pipe right there. It was submerged.
Oh, okay.
So if that water wasn't there, you would see like a little bit of a depression in the land and then going into a pipe.
And then as far as the Glenwood Landing testing, I mean, I'll wait for you. We can talk about this later and plan for additional testing next week.
Yeah, I mean, I will throw this out, Carol, that as we all know, that there does seem to be a problem with that open little stream or drain with high levels. So I think that's pretty much solidified in terms of being one of the sources.
Right.
But yeah, there are other issues there. I don't know if it's groundwater or something to that effect. I will say this, as far as I know, there are no sanitary lines in that area, so it should not be anything like that, what we found in Glen Cove.
No.
So I just want to make that clear. But we'll continue to look along the line.
It could be failing septics. I mean, that area is not sewered, but it could still be a similar problem.
Yeah, again, that one open little drain there definitely seems to be consistent with high fecal coliform as one source.
So So I think that covers it in Rocco. I don't know if you wanted to add anything more about Glen Cove. Is Rocco still on?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, I don't know if you can hear me now, but
Yep.
no, I just wanted to thank everybody. We really didn't know that sanitary line was there underneath the roadway in that culvert. So we were very lucky that resident, I brought him there because I knew he had some knowledge of some water quality things, and he just happened to remember as a child going in there with an ATV, and was completely convinced that he thought it must have been broken and there must have been sanitary lines, and took it upon himself. So we were very blessed that he did it. I mean, thank God he didn't get hurt, but he saved us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I just want to say that, if we didn't have this monitoring program, this could have gone on for years and years and years, just continuing putting sewage into Glen Cove Creek, and who knows what that would have led to. I mean, there's beaches at the end of the creek, that feeds pretty much into the shellfishing area. So it could just have a lot of bacteria going back in after we've, were able to turn things around. So thank God for the teamwork that we had here, and thank God for the coalition and the water monitoring program. And I mean, Carol and I even made CBS Evening News on this program. So it just shows that everybody's focusing on a problem. We can resolve things.
Yeah, it really was. It was all you could hope for from a testing program, that it would be used in this way. That it was only because we had the background data in both of these cases. For both Glenwood Landing, we've had years of data, so we know that what to expect. We know the pattern. For Glen Cove Creek, we knew it was high, but we knew there was a problem and something else going on. And it was only because we had that consistent testing. We've been making that case for years to get these grants, and we were very fortunate this year to get exactly what we needed. And I think this really sealed the deal for us with Long Island Sound, with the Citizens Advisory Committee, Management Committee, and then also the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, to understand what we're doing and why every year we're asking for the support to continue this program and the bacteria testing. So it all worked out well, and hopefully we can have as much success in Glenwood Landing, because that's many years overdue in addressing that problem. And then the only other thing I would add is that, again, because we're building on previous data, the coalition finished the Tappan Marina monitoring around the Flupsies that the town of Oyster Bay had put into Tappan Marina. And I know Steve's going to talk more about this, that the town has put in kelp lines in Tappan Marina. So we had proposed doing more testing in the marina this time during the winter and around the kelp lines to see if we can discern any differences as the kelp are growing. So we're anxious to see what this produces, and that monitoring has already started this month, and that will also go through April, bi-weekly testing. So it's all good. And I mean, maybe Steve, this would be a good time maybe for you to talk about the kelp.
Yeah, sure. So really what we've done is we've just taken about 400 feet of kelp spores and placed them out in the marina near the mouth of the marina there. And we're looking to see how it does there, if it grows well, if there is any substantial effect on the water quality, and potentially look for opportunities maybe to work with a collaborative effort and maybe expand out further.
And this project also will help, Dan. We started talking about this for implementing the 9-element plan, to have the nitrogen data used of, nitrogen reduction efforts, to show this data and to show these other projects that are trying to find ways of reducing nitrogen. So it's all good to be working together on these things. And I guess
Steve,
that's
this is Kevin from the town of North Hempstead. I'm sorry, Carol. I thought Steve was telling us a little bit more about the kelp, and I was interested in that.
okay.
Steve, how much water do you have at low tide at the Tappan Marina?
In some areas, it could be around 4 feet. Some other areas will be, could be as 8 or more. It really
Okay.
depends on specific locations.
All right, but you have those sugar kelp lines in 4 feet of water?
They're 3 feet below the surface. That's where we keep them. And yeah, so they grow there. I think where we have them is about 6 to 8 feet. So getting at least 3 feet before the bottom, and the only time that them hitting the bottom would really be an issue is in the beginning stages, when they're still spores. So
Okay, so you have significant depth. If you got to go 3 feet below and you need 3 feet off the water, I've seen in the last presentation for the Joint Protection Committee, these sugar kelp look like they can get some length to them. I'm just trying to figure out, what things are determined to what they need to grow.
right, so the length isn't really an issue once it starts to grow past the spore stage. If you're looking at 1 foot, 2 feet of kelp, it's really not an issue for it to be hitting the bottom.
Okay, because I think I saw it much larger in other presentations.
Yes, they can grow to be very large, and they will continue to grow.
And these things are pulled out during the boating season, so it's only a winter crop, so to speak?
Correct, it's a winter crop. The reason we're looking to maybe expand further and do a collaborative effort with with you guys, other municipalities, would be to get it out of the marina. So we could do it maybe in further out into the harbor. And that would just be to expand the growing season so that it could grow further, potentially in deeper waters where it might have, we might see results there. Right now, we would be taking them out before the boating season. The main growth that you see is really in March, April. It would be May, but we're going to take them out in April in order to have those slips available for boaters.
And you basically just dump spores in the marina?
No, so what?
And they
what
attach
happens
to
is-
a roof?
Yeah, so you purchase them. They're attached to this cotton string, and it comes wrapped around a PVC pipe. So you unwind that PVC pipe around another rope. We use manila because it's a natural fiber, and we wrapped it around that rope, and then basically we have it attached to 2 PVC poles that keep it 3 feet below the surface with floats along the top.
I know that sounds very interesting, and I know it's the winter, but I would say that may be an excellent presentation to see that in action. If that was a topic for I know it's the sugar kelp, but it seems like locally that may be a good thing to do for the Joint Protection Committee. At least small presentation on it or something.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate your interest.
Yeah, and in addition, from a science point of view, because that's the kind of guy I am, is there any way to determine the difference between the flub seas and the kelp? It seems to be that I know the overall goal of the Protection Committee is to improve water quality, but at sometimes with the flub seas, clam seeding, and sugar kelp farms, it seems like we're throwing darts at a board. I was just wondering if there's anything from a water quality standpoint that could make a determination as to what's more effective, or it almost seems like a PhD thesis, but just trying to determine if it's effective and then which one's more effective. That's not necessarily a question for anybody to answer, but it's something that would probably be helpful in determining what method you go forward with in other harbors. That's it.
Okay. That brings us over to the good segue into the 9-element plan. Dan, anything new since the last meeting on that?
Yeah, this is Dan Fucci from Nassau County. We're still going over the various elements with the DEC and SUNY Stony Brook. I had requested information from the various protection committees, Hempstead Harbor included, about some feedback on some of the county's thoughts relative to some of the elements. And we appreciate that feedback, and we're just evaluating that information and still working with Sue Van Patten up in DEC and SUNY Stony Brook. And once the bottom line is, once the 9-element plan is in a draft form, we will share that with the stakeholders for comments. So that's where we're at with that at the moment.
Any idea when that would happen? When the draft would be out? Or?
I've been going back and forth with DEC. I took your comments into consideration, Eric, as well as Sarah's in Manhasset Bay, and so on. So, it's a back and forth with DEC. I would hope in the next month or two, there's going to be a draft final for everyone to take a look at. But that's just my opinion. I'm doing the best I can to get that information to DEC and come up with this plan. But ultimately, it's the county's providing the information, but ultimately it's DEC funding SUNY Stony Brook to write the 9-element plan with the county's obvious assistance and the stakeholders' assistance. So we're just waiting for, they're waiting for me to get information over to them, as well as it's a lot of work. So, I would say in about another month or two, there hopefully will be a draft that everyone can take a look at.
I realize a lot of it's out of your hands, so who knows? Things always take longer than you think. So,
yeah, well, the agreement, the contracts between the DEC funding Stony Brook. However, obviously, the county needs to provide information on some of the elements, some of the 9 elements, to both the DEC and Stony Brook. So, that takes a lot of work as well. And that's part of why I asked the stakeholders, such as Hempstead Harbor, to assist in some of your thoughts. And matter of fact, I just updated some of those elements today based on your information, Eric and Sarah's. I put it into in a format to DEC and see what they respond with.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
On the pathogen TMDL, I haven't heard anything new about that. That's another thing that's been taking a long time. So as soon as I hear any more, I'll let everybody know. And I think the next 2 items, Powerhouse Drain and Glencoe Creek, we've already addressed, which brings us to the Nassau Septic Grant Program. And that's moving along very nicely. I think we have 143 applications in and have funding to provide up to $20,000 each, up to, for right now, for 200 property owners. So some have already gone in. We've worked out a lot of details with the county. Still, some details still have to be worked out. Nobody's actually been reimbursed yet. There's the county legislature needs to take some action, which we expect will happen in February. And then the Nassau Controller will be able to issue checks. So those details of what they will require still being worked out, but we've got, a handful of installers and a handful of designers that have already been approved, and a lot of contracts have been signed for installation. There was supposed to be an install today in East Norwich, but one of the installers and key employees is out with COVID, so that had to be postponed. I know there's another one probably going to go in Bayville in 2 weeks. So, and there's, I think, another one, going
Yeah.
in next week. So it's happening. And so far, everybody's pretty happy with the program. So if you know anybody that's, wants to participate, I encourage you to have them get in touch with this Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District. Once we reached the 200 applicants, people will be put on a waiting list. We are hopeful that more funding will be coming down the pike later this year or next year to be able to continue this, but that remains to be seen. So that sort of segues into the Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District. So there's that's pretty much the main thing they've been involved with. So there's not much more to say. Friends of Cedarmere, Tom, anything you want to report? Tom, are you still on?
I'm back.
Okay.
I was muted, sorry. We finished insulating the greenhouse, and we had some propane heater installed, and it seems to be holding its own. So we'll see how it works through the winter. We're going to be planting a lot of seeds starting in February for the gardens and the grounds and such.
Good news. Okay, municipal updates. Anybody want to start?
Yeah,
Steve, I know you
Kevin
spoke
from the
about.
town of North Hempstead.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
It's coming from the town of North Hempstead. Nothing to report except COVID.
All right. Steve, I know you spoke about the kelp. Do you want to speak about the expansion of the hatchery or anything else that's going on?
Sure. So we're once again increasing our capacity at the hatchery for this coming year, which gives us hope that we'll be able to provide seed for Hempstead Harbor if the DEC will permit it. And also we're looking to construct a new building, which would allow us to spawn our own shellfish, and that's really exciting because it will further increase our capacity as well. Other than that, we're interested in exploring, as I said, a collaborative municipal effort for aquaculture in Hempstead Harbor, something along the lines of perhaps off-bottom oyster aquaculture or kelp, and we're interested in looking into that.
Okay. Ian, anything in Roslyn?
No, nothing exciting going on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, nothing exciting going on in Roslyn unless Kevin has something that he knows that I don't.
Okay. Adam, how about Roslyn Harbor?
Just like our brother Roslyn, nothing exciting here.
I see that there was an article in Newsday that the Engineers Country Club is being, I forget exactly what it was. I mean, they're looking to put some condos in on the site, and I guess they turned over the management to a new company, or are in the process of doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not up to date on that. I know there was supposed to be hearings about it, and I don't know how far along it got.
Okay. I mean, that's something we should look at in terms of septic. I don't know if it's possible to hook into the sewer line that Glen Harbor Partners put in, but I mean, that's something that they're going to put some condos in there, maybe that should be looked at.
Sure.
Eric, did it indicate whether they were gonna close the golf course or they're just gonna be around it or?
No, they want to keep the golf course.
Okay,
But, you know, I guess the only way to make it, they say, feasible economically to run the golf course is to have, you know, the condos on the property. So I know they've been talking about this for years. Roslyn Harbor had a moratorium for a while, so.
Eric, that was a Newsday article, right? Today or
Yes.
something? Okay.
Yesterday, day before, something like that. I think it was yesterday.
The condos are planned though, Eric, for the other side, on the Glen Cove Road side,
Right.
on Back Road. So that the entrance would be from Back Road.
That would be too far really to hook into
Yeah.
the sewer line. Yeah.
And so the plan is to develop about 14 of the 140 acres and keep the country club operating. And so that management company was brought in to manage the golf course.
so the entrance would be along Glen Cove Avenue? Where you come to Back Road?
Yes, Back Road where the underpass is,
Yeah,
near the railroad station.
Tom, anything in Seacliff?
no, I was away most of the month, so I haven't heard anything.
All right. Rocco, how about Glen Cove?
The only thing I have to report is Crescent Beach. It looks like we're going to get that project going. We met yesterday with the engineer and the contractor at the private properties to get the helixes installed. I think they're going to start that next week. But
Great.
besides that, yeah, that's the only thing.
Okay. Who am I missing? How about Gary of Flower Hill?
Nothing new to report.
And Lewis, how about Sands Point?
Everybody here either has the covers over their head or is in Florida.
Wait, I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? Yeah, I think I got everybody. Yeah, okay, I think we heard from everybody. Anybody have any other business? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Dan Fucci.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, I assume.
Hey,
All right, as you'll see on the bottom of the agenda is that link to the DEC's public meeting introducing the new MS4 permit changes. I'll send that around to everybody. So thank you, everybody, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, good
Have a
night.
good one.
Good
Stay
night.
safe, everybody.
bye.